So with our lovely Miss P, we're going to warm up a little bit with some Find It's and maybe some lovely name recognition from the distraction. Ready? So we'll do a little Find It. And then from there, we'll go Poppy. Yes, nice job. So Oren, if you want to try a little bit with her. So I know for a lot of times, so if she did a little check-in, you got to feed her for it. She says, hold on, I got an itch. Oh, maybe she's good. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. You have to let her finish eating, otherwise she can't really come and walk at the same time. So for Miss P, I know that you guys had mentioned she's sometimes really mouthy and she sometimes tends to jump on company or even you guys. Remember that a lot of that is sometimes like a displacement behavior where she's taking that anxiety or that excitement, doesn't quite know what to do with herself. So she's just kind of using it. And sometimes also then her mouth, being a retriever, tends to be the thing she uses when she's a little overwhelmed or a little bit excited. So I do find warming up with a couple nice Find It's, great way to diffuse that energy, kind of like we did earlier with Mr. Z. So with Miss P, if let's say she's a little bit distracted by the environment, we might even get her to, again, I know in here sometimes there's the noises, there's just the novelty. She's definitely getting much more comfortable with every time she's coming, which is great. I know when she first came, she was a little bit unsure and she was a little hesitant coming into the building. Now she, I think, just runs right in and is very eager to be here. So right now I'm just warming her up, but there was a little noise. So Oren, you can go ahead now. I was just gonna get her in the groove. So feed her for that name recognition. Nice. Did she grab it? Oh, it fell? She's trying to give you her foot. There you go. Nice. So see if you can get her attention. Well, there we go. So she didn't see you throw it. So show it to her sniffer and then toss it. Oh, she ate it. Okay. So don't say her name unless you want her to come to you. So you're going to be technically tossing the food. So you would go ahead, and if she responds to her name, feed her for that. She says high five instead. So if the puppy responds to her name, you got to feed her for the name recognition. So a lot of times we as people, even littles and adults, will say the puppy's name or the cue words or just in general talk a lot. And your puppy has no idea what your language is all about. So if your puppy is constantly hearing you say something, doesn't understand what the heck you're talking about, and then you're constantly talking, you might be also losing out on the meaning behind the words you're hoping she learns. So if let's say in the beginning you tend to do a lot of voice and the puppy has no idea what the heck you're doing, I sometimes say nothing and just feed for all the right moments. So what I'm doing is I'm feeding for Miss P for coming into my space and checking in. And then I'm doing, again, a little moment for feeding away so she can go do a Find It and bounce back. So go ahead and see if you can work a couple of these Find It's. Nice. And then call her name. She's like, hold on, there's a crumb. So if she doesn't respond, go closer to Miss P and show her what you have and see if she can do a little check-in. Oh, did you find one that you dropped? There we go. Beautiful. So right now the air came on, which is enough to sometimes throw her off. So if Miss P gets nervous about the heat coming on, I typically go right into a couple little Find It's to pair the novel noise with the food. So if let's say Miss P is a little bit unsure, I go right into some easy little moments right here nearby. Ready? And I would just go right into several little feedings as the air is popping on. I know for us, we don't always necessarily pick up on the noises of the building because with the mic, it kind of picks up the noises right here and not in the whole zone. So we may find that sometimes we don't hear them the same way she does, but you can see it in her body language. She gets a little bit unsure. She kind of hunches. So a lot of times you got to look at your puppy and see what they're giving you for body language, because we tend to miss out. That was a big Find It. We tend to miss out on what they're trying to say with their body language. And then the moments that we're noticing them tends to be when they're having either a really hard time or the behavior has now gone from a whisper to a shouting situation. So shouting, for example, not always necessarily being loud, but being excessively mouthy, super jumpy, maybe tugging on equipment. Those can be moments where now your dog has gone from body language saying I'm uncomfortable to now physically showing you how overwhelmed they're actually feeling. So if at times the only moment we actually pay attention to her is when she's giving us a hard time, it's because she's having one. So we do want to catch her before she gets so flustered she can't function. Poppy. So if let's say, yes, nice job. We also want to mark the behavior as she comes into our space. So Poppy, yes. So if let's say name recognition is something that, hold on one second, okay, Oren? So if, for example, she's hearing her name over and over and she checks in but then doesn't get a paycheck, what's the point of her listening later when you say it again another time? So I normally like to abbreviate my dog's names or have a nickname that I don't use in relation to them checking in. Because if your dog is constantly hearing a cue or hearing their name and then you don't pay them for that response, eventually you say their name later, they're going to not really pay attention. So because we're teaching them to ignore the voice and ignore whatever the heck we're trying to do when it comes to understanding a cue. So, Oren, if you want, maybe try doing a little bit of loose leash walking. I know she's technically got no gear on, but see if when she's meandering, if she comes to check in on you, feed her for that. And we'll see if she does a little bit of a nice little moment with you. So don't go so far because then you can't be seen on the camera. Maybe to like the beginning start of the second door. There you go. You got to feed her a little bit when she's there. No, just one. So just feed her one snack at a time. Otherwise, she's going to get so full she won't care to check in. So I know littles get a little eager with food. I would recommend to get them in a habit of doing like one snack at a time for the skills. Otherwise, your puppy might start to get so full that they either pick up too much weight. Put it in your pouch, please. They either pick up too much weight or, for example, they might get a tummy upset. So I would highly recommend to use some of your pups or your adult dog's kibble and make treat stations where you take some of this lovely snacks that are very high value or middle of the range and then mix it with some of your kibble. And now the kibble starts to smell like the training treats. So, but go ahead, keep walking around with Miss P. So remember, if she's going for your back end, keep your hand up and out of range. So feed her the snack because she's next to you. So, but if let's say she's trying to eat your whole hand, Oren, don't put the food in the hand until you want to feed her. Or, yep, keep it to your chest and then keep walking so you can show her the snack. She always thinks you want to give her a high five. So I'm going to, again, move out of range. You go ahead and practice a little bit with lovely Miss P. So the benefit of, again, having sometimes multiple family members trying a bit with your puppy is it can get your babe to feel more comfortable generalizing, again, the basic skills you've been working on together with more of the family members. I hear it a lot where, again, I mentioned this with Mr. Z too, where you know, you'll mention like maybe my spouse is the only one the dog listens to, or maybe the pup barely pays attention to your teenager. So sometimes working on those relationships within the household can be helpful. Even if it's littler ones, make sure the training sessions are supervised. Make sure, for example, it's within your child's skill set as well as the dog. So because if it's, again, coming from only one end, so maybe your little one doesn't have the same understanding as you, then of course the puppy might get really overwhelmed or stressed or frustrated while working with someone that doesn't quite know what they're up to. So make sure the training sessions are successful from both the little or the other partner or the husband or spouse or whoever's available, to then make sure the practice within the whole household is staying consistent. So we got to make sure that our slogans are the same. So if everybody's doing, let's say, for example, sit, awesome. But if, let's say, for lying down, one person says down, another person says floor, another person says lie down, that's a lot of different slogans, and your puppy may not always understand what the heck you're asking. She says, your shoe smells delicious. So for Miss P, I'd say she's doing a really nice job keeping all 4 feet on the floor, taking some nice snacks from both myself and from Oren, and she's been doing better with some of these find its and feeling comfortable to me while practicing. So she might need a little breather, and then we'll work another couple little skills for Miss P in just a second. She did a very nice job.